So, watch this. And claws.
Instead, what he did is allow himself to be captured by this woman, Meghan, who's not a nice character, who's a very fame hungry. And, because remember, I've done lots of reporting on Meghan and what she was like before she was in the royal family. And, she was trying to she was just desperate to date a British guy. Like she tried to date Ashley Cole, the footballer ex of Cheryl, tried to date Matt Cardle, the guy who won the X Factor, tried to date Max George, who was a member of The Wanted. She just wanted a famous British guy. That's for whatever reason, she'd broken up with her husband. She wanted that. She hit the jackpot. Prince Harry. Come on. And she never wanted it to work within the royal family. That was too hard for her. So they concocted this narrative of racism, and it's just not true. It's not true. They would give.
Meghan is on the side nearest to the photographers, who I presume are kind of, paparazzi or news photographers and videographers. And Harry's on the far side of the car. And he comes round and kind of tries to chivalrously put his hand on his arm, and she kind of literally swerves him and goes to very obviously greet the person that they're meeting with a big bear hug.
I don't want history to repeat itself. I do not want to be a single dad. And I certainly don't want my children to have a life without a mother or a father.
Prince Harry's charm once lit up every room, but now it looks like the spotlight's dimming, and Meghan might be shifting her focus elsewhere. From whispers of her building new alliances to Harry being treated like an outsider, the Sussex story is unraveling in real time. Is Meghan planning her next chapter without him? And has Harry already lost the crown of relevance? Stay tuned, because we're breaking down all the royal drama that you don't want to miss.
And, she was trying to she was just desperate to date a British guy. Like she tried to date Ashley Cole, the footballer ex of Cheryl, tried to date Matt Cardle, the guy who won the X Factor, tried to date Max George, who was a member of The Wanted. She just wanted a famous British guy. That's for whatever reason, she'd broken up with her husband.
Time when Prince Harry could walk into a room and instantly command attention. People didn't just see a royal title, they saw charm, charisma, and that rebellious streak that made him stand out. He was the prince who broke rules, laughed at tradition, and still managed to win people over while doing it.
There was this level of frustration. And I talk about the red mist that I had for so many years. And I saw this red mist in him.
Wonderful team I have around me. Unlike, one might say, for Harry and Meghan, who yet again seem to have axed their entire staff body. That's right, nothing says that you're impossible to work for.
But now, those days feel like they belong to a completely different timeline. In 2025, Harry isn't just being overlooked, he's being actively ignored. The very circles that once praised him and Meghan can't be bothered anymore. And the scariest part, Meghan seems to know it too. You can see it in her moves. She's adapting, she's pivoting, while Harry looks stuck in place.
Wonderful team I have around me. Unlike, one might say, for Harry and Meghan, who yet again seem to have axed their entire staff body. That's right, nothing says that you're impossible to work for a bit of a ball ache and an axe grinder than constantly cycling through various members of staff like hot dinners. Well, that's exactly what has happened. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have given their communications team the boot, blaming them for a series of recent PR humiliations.
It's almost shocking how fast the tide has turned. Hollywood elites who used to line up to invite the Sussexes to their parties are now ghosting them like yesterday's trend. The flashy event invitations have stopped coming. The glowing tabloid covers are gone. And what's left is silence. A silence so loud it feels crueler than any headline takedown. Nobody's bluntly declaring Harry finished, but let's be real. The way they're acting says it all. He's being treated like he doesn't even exist, and that sting must cut deeper than any paparazzi scandal. Imagine going from global icon to being cautionary tale in just a few short years. That has to hurt. The whispers didn't come out of nowhere. Big-name publicists reportedly warned their celebrity clients to avoid Harry because being linked to him means drama, and not the glamorous kind. Think about it. One casual dinner conversation today could pop up in a podcast or memoir tomorrow. And honestly, that's not even paranoia. It's a fair concern. Harry's track record of spilling private tea, whether through interviews, his book Spare, or Netflix documentaries, has shifted how people see him. He doesn't look like a prince anymore. To many, he looks like a liability. Behind closed doors, the comments get even colder. One Hollywood producer allegedly labeled him the exiled royal who won't stop talking. Another insider who once proudly showed off selfies with him flat out said he had a shot, he blew it. And when people who used to be your biggest cheerleaders start switching sides, you know the fall from grace is real.
This event they were at in New York for the Time 100, there's a really interesting video doing the rounds on social media which shows their car pulling up to the event venue. And Meghan is on the side nearest to the photographers, who I presume are kind of, paparazzi or news photographers and videographers. And Harry's on the far side of the car. And he comes round and kind of tries to chivalrously put his hand on his arm, and she kind of literally swerves him and goes to very obviously greet the person that they're meeting with a big bear hug. And just honestly, the word spare part, came to my mind. It
Rebecca!
Like...
Those same people who once hyped Harry and Meghan have already moved on. And here's where things get extra messy. Because Meghan isn't just sitting back and watching this decline happen. She's reportedly furious. Furious that the empire she worked so hard to build around the Sussex name is crumbling in front of her. Furious that the man she sacrificed everything for is now fading into the background. Some insiders even believe she's not just reassessing their public brand, but reevaluating Harry himself. And honestly, doesn't that sound exactly like Meghan? She's never been the type to wait around for someone else to catch up. Control, strategy, optics, that's always been her game. And now that the public is losing interest in their joint fairy tale, she's allegedly switching gears faster than anyone expected. There are whispers that Meghan has already started building new alliances, projects, connections, networks that don't involve Harry at all. Some even claim there could be a new man in the picture, though whether that's true or just tabloid fuel almost doesn't matter. Because here's the thing, in this world, perception is everything. Once people start believing she's moving solo, the image becomes reality. And Meghan's body language lately, it's screaming independence. You don't need to be a body language expert to notice she's leaning into her solo shots, stepping out alone, and pushing narratives where Harry is nowhere in sight. Insiders say her focus has completely narrowed. She's investing her time in solo ventures, taking meetings without him, and making plans that deliberately leave Harry out of the room. One source even described it as her pre-building an escape plan, like she's setting the foundation for a life where she doesn't need him at all. And poor Harry, he's not blind to this. People close to him describe a man who looks increasingly unsure of his own footing. He's forcing smiles at events, trying to keep things light on social media with the occasional update, but the energy is totally different. It's less confident now, more desperate. And honestly, when the applause stops, even the most charismatic royals start to crack under the silence. Rumor has it Harry has even floated the idea of returning to the UK. Not forever, but maybe long enough to reset, reconnect, and remind people he's still relevant.
Honestly, the pair of them are just moany, whiny, awful, vile people. They really are. I'm sorry. And every time I've sat on this panel and tried to defend the fact he needs security because of his time in Afghanistan and because of the fact that he will always be the son of a king. And I think that on that, he actually has a point. I think it's a fair debate to say whether he should pay for it. Now he's got loads of money, but I think he will always be that. But then he wants reconciliation, acting like he's the victim when he's the perpetrator of the stuff that would require the reconciliation. When the Queen was on her deathbed, Queen Elizabeth, he was throwing accusations about... Now he's alluding to the King's health being worse than we know. It's no one else's job to tell us that than the King. He is vile.
That idea might not even be his. Some claim it's all part of Meghan's strategy, that she's sending him back as a way to manage optics, to buy herself time while she makes moves in the background. It's like she's using him as a temporary placeholder while she quietly maps out her next chapter. And that chapter might not include Harry at all.
What was different here was this level of frustration. And I talk about the red mist that I had for so many years. And I saw this red mist in him. He wanted me to hit him back, but I chose not to.
There's a fair amount of drugs, marijuana, magic mushrooms, cocaine. I mean, that's going to surprise people.
But important to acknowledge. I want reconciliation, but first there needs to be some accountability. The truth, supposedly at the moment, has been there's only one side to this story, right? But there's two sides to every story.
When Harry touched down in the UK, his face told the whole story. The cameras caught everything, every step, every stiff glance, every awkward shuffle with the press. But if you look closer, there was something else going on. This wasn't a man coming home for nostalgia or family ties. No, this was about survival, about clinging to relevance, maybe even chasing redemption.
I don't want history to repeat itself. I do not want to be a single dad. And I certainly don't want my children to have a life without a mother or a father.
Insiders swear this trip wasn't even Harry's idea. Meghan allegedly coordinated the whole thing from across the ocean, mapping out the events he'd attend, the people he'd be seen talking to, even the photo ops. It was a schedule designed to scream, Harry still matters. But on the ground, nobody was buying it. Royal aides treated him less like a family member and more like a guest lecturer passing through. A handshake, a nod, but no warmth. It was all very polite, but cold. Even his old friends didn't seem to know how to act around him. These were the same people who once partied with him, rode horses, played polo, laughed over drinks. Now conversations were clipped, surface level, and some friends didn't even bother showing up at all. That absence spoke louder than words. Who did show up? They came solo. No wives, no girlfriends, because let's be real, no one wanted to end up as a storyline in the next Netflix docuseries. Still, Harry did his best to play the part. He smiled for the cameras, shook hands, and delivered a neatly polished speech about unity and service. But anyone watching could see it. This wasn't Harry speaking freely. Every word felt scripted, like it had been pre-approved by Meghan's PR team. Even one royal reporter tweeted that Harry looked like a man auditioning for a role he once owned, but no longer fit. Ouch. The press pounced immediately. Headlines shifted from curiosity to mockery. Was Harry just a puppet now? Was Meghan pulling the strings while staying conveniently out of sight? Because while Harry was stumbling through London, Meghan was photographed thousands of miles away in California, casually sipping coffee with a big-name Hollywood executive. She posed, smiled, and dropped little hints about new beginnings. Social media went wild. People started asking, was she done with the royal brand altogether? Was she plotting her rebrand as a solo star? Or, more brutally, was she letting Harry burn in the UK while she laid the groundwork for her next big move?
Instead, what he did is allow himself to be captured by this woman, Meghan, who's not a nice character, who's a very fame-hungry and, because remember, I've done lots of reporting on Meghan and what she was like before she was in the royal family. And, she was trying to she was just desperate to date a British guy. Like she tried to date Ashley Cole, the footballer ex of Cheryl, tried to date Matt Cardle, the guy who won the X Factor, tried to date Max George, who was a member of The Wanted. She just wanted a famous British guy. That's for whatever reason, she'd broken up with her husband. She wanted that. She hit the jackpot. Prince Harry. Come on. And she never wanted it to work within the royal family. That was too hard for her. So they concocted this narrative of racism, and it's just not true. It's not true. They were given so much support.
Some insiders even framed the trip as Meghan's test, her way of seeing if Harry could still hold his own without her next to him. But instead of proving he could, the whole thing just exposed how far he's fallen. The charm that once made crowds melt now looked forced. The easy confidence, gone, replaced by hesitation and nerves. And the royal family wasn't subtle about where they stood. King Charles kept his distance. William stayed locked in his duties. Even Queen Camilla reportedly refused to be photographed alone with Harry. The message couldn't have been clearer. The royal institution wasn't ready to forgive, and it definitely wasn't about to forget.
I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. As I learned through the First Nations throughout Canada, because of the Invictus Games, their goal in life was always truth and reconciliation. And I turned around to them in many conversations and I said, right, but reconciliation can't come without truth. Well, I've now found out the truth. I've shared some of it with you today. A lot of it exists out there, whether people choose to ignore it or not. You know, so it would be nice to have that reconciliation part now. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
Yeah. Behind the palace walls, the whispers had shifted from gossip to pity. Once upon a time, Harry was the cheeky, rebellious rogue who could have carved out a legacy of his own. He had the charm, the spotlight, and the goodwill of millions. But instead of building something lasting, he chose chaos, and now he's paying the price. When he walked those familiar halls again, his head lowered and his smiles tight. People didn't see a bold prince anymore. They saw a cautionary tale. A man who had traded power for headlines and ended up with neither. Observers couldn't ignore the contrast. There were no kids running around him, no Meghan at his side, no spark in his demeanor, just a man trying to reclaim something the world had already left behind. And deep down, even Harry seemed to sense it. For the first time in years, he didn't just look out of place, he looked like he had no power left. When he returned to California, the silence was deafening. There were no staged photo ops, no smiling airport reunion, just grainy, long-lens shots of Harry slipping back into Montecito with his head down. Meghan wasn't waiting for him at the gate. In fact, insiders whispered she wasn't even in town. That only fueled the rumors. Sources close to the couple say they've been spending less and less time together, taking solo trips, attending separate meetings, and rarely being seen in the same room unless absolutely necessary.
Meghan Markle, I think she was 35 or 30 when she came into the royal family. She'd had a life, she was an actress, she'd been married before, so she was pretty much clued up. And I think what's happened is she's come into the royal family and this archaic system has tried to control her and say, you will do this, you will do that, you will not go here, you will not go there. And she's just said, no, I'm not going to live like that. And I think that's why the issue was, because Meghan would not conform to the rules of the royal household and she wanted to actually have a life, then that's where the problem started.
Some even call it intentional distance, a deliberate effort to separate their lives in the public eye. Meghan, according to people in her circle, has locked in on one mission: salvaging her brand. She's been in high-level talks with Hollywood producers and PR strategists about a major pivot, not one tied to the royal circus, but one that shines the spotlight on her alone. Her recent move speaks volumes. Red carpet appearances without Harry, solo interviews where she carefully controls the narrative, and perfectly timed social media leaks designed to grab attention. Everything screams of a woman cutting ties from the story that made her famous. And Harry? He's simply absent from that picture. The buzz is brutal but clear. Meghan doesn't want to be half of a struggling brand anymore. She wants to be the brand. Executives are already hesitant to greenlight projects that include both of them. One Netflix insider didn't mince words. They said the duo angle doesn't sell anymore. Meghan on her own? That's a different conversation. And that's chilling, because it means even in business, Harry is starting to look like dead weight. Meanwhile, Harry feels trapped. He's not royal enough to be welcomed back into the monarchy with open arms. He's not independent enough to carve out respect in Hollywood. And worst of all, he's not controversial enough anymore to even drive media frenzy. What's left is a man floating between worlds, with no real anchor and no clear direction. Friends describe him as quieter than ever, skipping social events, dodging calls from the press, even avoiding casual encounters with paparazzi. Instead, he fills his days with surfing, biking, and walking the dogs. But let's be honest, no hobby can hide the tension hanging over him. One close friend put it bluntly: Harry is finally realizing that without the crown to give him weight or Meghan to prop him up, he has no identity left in this world. And that's a devastating truth for someone who once had it all. The latest whispers circling Hollywood and royal watchers alike are all about Meghan's alleged new connection. Rumor has it, she's been reconnecting with a wealthy, well-connected financer she's worked with before on past projects. Now let's be clear, there's no confirmed romance here, no evidence of candlelight dinners or love notes. But honestly, with Meghan, sometimes the speculation alone is enough to set tabloids on fire.
You mentioned the Sun earlier. Clearly the tabloids have been gunning for you for a while now. Do you think this experience in Afghanistan is going to change how you're regarded back at home?
Who knows? They've got their own opinions. They're entitled to their own opinions, and I'll just keep on doing what I'm doing, and yeah, that's about it.
And when you pair that with the chilly, almost icy distance we've seen between her and Harry lately, it's no wonder people are starting to connect the dots. Some insiders believe she's using the new alliance as leverage, a way to send Harry a loud but unspoken message. I don't need you to move forward. I can rise with or without you. That's the thing about Meghan. She plays the optics game like a pro. She knows how to control the narrative, how to look powerful, even when the ground beneath her is shaky.
Wonderful team I have around me. Unlike, one might say, for Harry and Meghan, who yet again seem to have axed their entire staff body. That's right, nothing says that you're impossible to work for a bit of an axe grinder than constantly cycling through various members of staff like hot dinners. Well, that's exactly what has happened. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have given their communications team the boot, blaming them for a series of recent PR humiliations. They've instead decided to go with the firm behind that controversial video. Did you see it? Do you want to see it? Do you want to be reminded of it? Do we even have it in our storage? I don't know. If we've got any sense, we won't. No, Tech Up Dave's like, no, of course we don't keep stuff like that. I bet it's there somewhere. But it was just really pathetic. You know, I was like, what is going on? I get the impression that all of the things they've tried to do seriously, and I put seriously inside dits, such as, I don't know, launch a Gren.
Harry, though, doesn't have that same skill, and right now he looks completely lost inside the whirlwind. Every time he tries to make a comeback, to grab a bit of the spotlight, it feels like he's chasing a bus that left the station hours ago. Sure, the charm that made him once popular is still there, in flashes. You can catch it in a smile or a quick joke, but the relevance, that's gone. And the internet sees it too. Comment sections that were once filled with admiration and support have shifted tone completely. Now people are asking different questions. Where's Harry? Why does he look so sad? Is Meghan replacing him? These aren't the kind of headlines or comments a royal wants tied to their name. And the worst part, nobody's giving answers, just silence. Analysts are calling this the turning point, and honestly, it feels like they're right. This is the moment the world stops seeing Harry and Meghan as one unit, one brand, one story. Instead, people are starting to watch them as two very different characters heading down two separate paths. Meghan is being cast as the strategist, the survivor, the woman plotting her solo empire. And Harry? He's slowly becoming the man fading into the background. It's a brutal contrast, and for fans who once rooted for their love story, it's heartbreaking to watch. But in the ruthless game of power, perception, and public image, Meghan seems to know exactly what she's doing, while Harry is left wondering if he still has a role at all. So there you have it, the whispers, the body language, and the speculation that's setting the royal rumor mill on fire. Is Meghan truly stepping into a solo empire while Harry fades into the background, or is this just another chapter in their complicated story? Either way, this tea isn't cooling anytime soon. If you love diving into this royal drama, hit that subscribe button and tap that bell for updates. And don't forget to join us for the next big spill.